Good Sunday morning. This is the Indy Kid coming at you. This is the day after Vanderbilt edition. Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to get into the Vanderbilt game. Going to kind of get into a little bit of the recap of the season. But before we get into that, guys, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you hit subscribe. We're on that road to 10,000. We're not far. We're within oh, man, I'm not even sure at this point. We're getting close. I do know we are getting very close to that. So, game friends, family, coworkers that are VAWLS fans that haven't listened to us, send that out to them. I think I like the channel. We're just three guys talking football. We got a little bit of common sense when it comes to it, but we're not insiders. We are not experts. But Tennessee finishes the season 7-5. And coming into this season, so many losses via the transfer portal, just decimated with their depth. They replaced it through the portal as well, plus their signing class that they come in. They lost guys from that signing class last year as well. They lost numerous guys there who had signed and then were granted their releases later on. Guys who maybe could have provided some depth along the way as well. But for the guys who stuck it out, and especially these seniors who walked through that tee for the last time yesterday, got to give a shout out to them for what they've endured in this program. Some of them, this is their third head coach that they're on. They didn't sign up for that when they committed to Butch Jones and signed with him a few years back. Going through the Jeremy Pruitt era and now into the Josh Heupel era. I'm sure some of them wish they would have probably had Josh Heupel as their coach from the get-go. But, these guys will be better off for that adversity. They were able to overcome it. They were able to help get this program going in the right direction. Now it's up to the guys who remain to carry that on. And again, hats off to these guys for sticking it out, for helping bounce back, as Josh Heupel posted the best first year of any coach since Lane Kiffin in 2009. His 7 wins were the most for a first-year coach since 2009. And, of course, he's tied for 4th. Philip Fulmer, Bill Battle both had 10 wins in their first seasons. And then back in 1941, John Barnhill had 8. And then Josh Heupel, Lane Kiffin, both with 7. And at 4-4, Heupel became the 4th UT coach since 1970 to lead the Vols to a 500 SEC record or better in his first season. Joining Kiffin, who went 4-4, Fulmer 7-1, Battle 4-1. So that's a pretty good company he's in, and we can say what we want about Lane Kiffin. The guy is a good coach. You see what he's doing with Ole Miss. Got to give him credit for what he's doing. Don't necessarily agree with all his ways he does it, but with the flopping specifically. But what Heupel's done, he's done an excellent job in year one. And you got to think the future is bright for Tennessee football. Now, it's going to depend on who comes back, who do they add. Does Hendon Hooker come back? Does Cedric Tillman come back? I think those are 2 big ones. Or if those 2 guys come back, you have that proven quarterback in this offense. You have that proven receiver in this offense as well. I know from what I've seen up to this point, I don't see neither one of them. I've seen Hooker listed on Mel Kiper's draft board. I've not seen Tillman as of yet. I'm interested to see if his stock goes up the way he's played, especially the second half of the year against the competition that he's played against as well. Again, Tennessee 45-21 over Vanderbilt. Kind of discuss the game here just a minute. It wasn't Tennessee's best performance by any means, but it's nice that we can look at it as they didn't play their best, and yet they still throttled Vanderbilt. Still beat their season average. They're averaging 38 points per game on the season. They still beat that by 7. Pretty good game there. And, of course, Vandy got the Hail Mary at halftime. I don't know how it happened, but I'm pretty sure from what they gathered, there was a coaching staff, and specifically Heupel was not happy going into halftime. Lack of execution on offense in the first half. And the defense just couldn't get off field at times yesterday. But again, it's nice to not play your best and still win by 24 points. That's a good day for Tennessee football. We're getting back a little bit more to where this program's used to being. And I know Kentucky's going to boast they're finished second in the East. They're not the second best team in the East. That was proven on the field at Kroger Field about 3 weeks ago. And you're not going to prove me different because they play 10 times. Tennessee's going to beat them more than Kentucky's going to beat them. I could even venture to say Tennessee beats them 10 out of 10 times. That's how confident I am, and that's Kentucky doesn't score that much on Tennessee on any given night. But a good wrap to the season for Tennessee. Now we just await bowl game next week, which will come after all the conference championships next week. The most common is Music City Bowl or Duke's Mayo Bowl. Of course, I've seen Tax Slayer Bowl mentioned. We'll see. I mean, 13 of the 14 SEC teams are bowl eligible, so it's going to make for some really interesting scenarios as to where Tennessee can go. I don't know what the pecking order is going to be, but you can bet the bowls are going to take, if they get the opportunity, they're going to take the teams with the most traveling fan base. So Tennessee's going to get, I mean, they could fall to the Music City Bowl. It's possible. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get a Florida Bowl. And I'm not sure which is higher on the pecking order as far as the Duke's Mayo Bowl or the Music City Bowl. And again, you can't complain getting a bowl. I don't need to see Tennessee in the Music City Bowl again. I just don't. Nothing against it, but let's let these guys get out and travel a little bit. They don't need to go right down the road. I mean, it would be big for recruiting though, because the fans are going to pack the place. And especially if they could come in and throttle a Big Ten team. That would be big for recruiting. So, what's the best scenario? You've got the Charlotte area, which I think Tennessee wants to recruit. Me personally, I want to see them play an ACC team. But I've seen enough Tennessee playing the Big Ten. But, you can't get picky either. Ecstatic that these guys are in a bowl game. Ecstatic where this program's going. This coaching staff, and kind of broke it down at the end of the live show last night, the live post-game show. These guys have earned their money, these coaches. And every position I feel, the one position I feel could have withstood to be a little better, and there are guys who made improvements at this position. I'm looking at it as a unit. It's a secondary because I feel Theo Jackson, I feel Alante Taylor played really well this year as well. I feel those two guys, their improvement and what they did helped, some glaring weaknesses in other parts of the secondary. Theo Jackson, Alante Taylor, I think they helped that grade in the secondary. And I would like to see more of a Brandon Turnage and a Kamal Haddon than we did as well. That's a position I feel, especially losing Jackson and Alante Taylor. He went through the T yesterday. He's committed to the Senior Bowl. That's a guy who's played his last down at Tennessee. Well, his last down in Neyland Stadium. He'll play the bowl game. Those two guys are going to be hard to replace. They've been really good this year. They've done good things, both of them with pick sixes on the resume this season. The rest of the team, I think, where the defensive line, that was a concern going into next year. There's some guys who have emerged and evolved this year. Feel confident about that group, especially if you add some JUCO help. You add maybe a Walter Nolan, you add a Tyree West, someone of that nature. Wouldn't be surprised to see him hit the portal for the right guy as well. Linebacker play, you look at how much those guys have improved from last year to this year. Yeah, they're not without flaws, but just imagine a full camp, full off season, going through that strength and conditioning program, spring camp, spring practice. Could make a big difference, these guys. I think they could withstand to add some bodies there, but still yet, if those guys improve as much as they did from last year to this year, got to think it's going to be the same next year as well. A lot of excitement around this program and where they're going. Can't be happier this season. Yeah, I feel Ole Miss. I still maintain it. the referees took the Ole Miss game from Tennessee. I think Tennessee would like to have that Pitt game back again. I think Tennessee would like to have the Florida game back as well. Florida was playing good ball at that time. They had just taken Alabama down to the wire. Florida fell on their face after Tennessee played them. So it's really kind of hard to compare that and say, well, Tennessee should have won that game. Florida was playing good ball at that time. I don't have a lot of regrets on that. It'd been nice to see how it would have worked if they'd played later in the season, but you would have still had to dealt with the same mobile quarterback there. But 7-5 with so many losses to the portal, breaking in basically new starters all over the place. Their line, they just don't have much depth on the line. When guys come in, they played hard. They weren't perfect, but there just was not a lot of depth left on that line, especially when you had Wanye Morris, you had Jameer Johnson leave. That was two guys who would have provided depth and possibly been starters. You had both the Mays brothers hurt on and off throughout the season, it seemed, and just guys, you had walk-ons, you had guys who were fourth, fifth-year seniors stepping in who hadn't played much prior to this point. So I'm excited to see what Glenn Ellerby and Alex Golish can do with those guys when they get a full deck on hand. Because, 285 yards yesterday with really a makeshift line. And there was numerous times. This line did a good job this year. It was a respectable line. It's much better. I feel this line was much better than it's been the last few years. And there were some of those years I felt they had a lot more talent than they had this year. But, can this line be better? Absolutely. But I'm pretty happy with what they did based on the injuries, based on, the times they had to go makeshift. I think they did a respectable job this year. Those receivers, it's going to be hard to fill Velus Jones' shoes. Guy does everything. Somebody said in our comments last night, and I totally agree, we don't talk about him enough for what he does. Heck of a player toward the end of last year, going into this year. He's done so much for that team. Javonte Payton, he was a nice addition. Some big moments from him. Who steps up in their places? Hopefully Cedric Tillman comes back next year. Who's the next man up? Is it Jalen Hyatt? Is it Jimmy Callaway? Is it Jimmy Holiday? Is it Walker Merrill? Is it Ramel Keaton, who come on some later in the year? I still think that position adds through the portal, plus who they're bringing in just through the signing class. Tight end, it looks like I believe all the tight ends are going to be back. That should be a strength next year. This team's got some potential, man. It's going to depend on Hendon Hooker coming back, because if he doesn't, you're looking at Joe Milton. I'm curious to see, does Tennessee go portal again for quarterback? Because I think Taven Jackson's going to be more of a couple years down the line. Does Joe Milton leave if Hendon Hooker comes back so he can go get an opportunity? There are so many questions, so much it can be covered on this team. But the bottom line is Tennessee, not at its best yesterday, but still throttles Vanderbilt. They put their foots on their throats. Didn't let off of it. 45-21. Heck of a first season for Josh Heupel. Again, the best first season since Lane Kiffin. It's been 12 years. Or does Josh Heupel build on it from here? 8 wins would be big. Lane Kiffin, 7, included the bowl game. Of course, he got his in the regular season. They got beat in the bowl by Virginia Tech. Josh Heupel can beat that, depending on where they go to the bowl game. But that wraps up the regular season. Sad to see it go. It was a fun season. And, the job this staff done was just phenomenal. I can't say it enough. So many losses. I know I'm getting repetitious here, but so many losses. These guys really coached them up. It was a fun season. I'm excited to see what they do when they get more of a full deck. From what I gather, with losses through the portal, they're going to be able to go up to possibly 32, and they could use every one of those 32 also. That would be big for their depth going into next year, because I think they're down. I said 69 last night. I think they're down to 68 with some of the defections through the season. And So we'll see where they can add impact players. Do they add depth? Is it a combination of both that they do? But I'm excited to see what this staff does moving forward. I think there's big things on the horizon here in Knoxville. So strap in, get ready. I think it's going to be fun. But just kind of update you on the week. Tuesday night, Tennessee plays Presbyterian in basketball. Dauber and myself will be live right after it. I believe that game's at 7 o'clock. And then we will, I think we discussed it a little bit last night, we will go live again Wednesday night, 7 p.m. for our live weekly show. And we'll see where it goes from there. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoy your Sunday. Take care. My name's the Indy Kid. This is the Talkin' VAWLS Network. Put your foot on the throats. Don't let off. Have a good day. Go Big Orange.